Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review, live. What's up everybody? Thank you for joining us here on Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comics, and I'll let you know what I thought about them. And yes, we're going live tonight because I recorded this whole video, right? And then there was no audio. So I did some testing. For some reason, either the mic is dead, or the input on the camera is dead, or the cord is dead. But I wasn't able to figure out what it was. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go to the live setup and let's just do it live. Why not? So, with that out of the way, we're about to get into it. But first, I do want to say this. The good people over at Whatnot have given us an invite code. So if you're one of the few who have not checked out Whatnot yet, you can check it out at the link in the description below, right? And it will give you $15 off your first purchase when you sign up for a new account. So that's super cool. It also helps out PCP. So if you haven't tried out Whatnot and you've always wanted to, here's your chance at $15 to click that link in the description below. All right. Without further ado, we always start with a pick of the week. And this week's pick of the week, Junkyard Joe, issue number 2. Absolutely love this book. Now, y'all know that I loved issue number 1. I thought it was rather nuanced for a war story and a kind of superhero science fiction type thing. Issue 2 continues that momentum. It is absolutely fantastic. Clean, precise artwork from Gary Frank and Brad Anderson. Top-notch stuff, gory when it needs to be. It deals with the ramifications of war from a soldier's perspective. Now, from the events in the first issue, we skip a few years, and now we're dealing with the ramifications of that, and then some things are introduced, and some conflict is set up that sets it up to be a really fantastic book. This is amazing. Geoff Johns has really returned to that classic Geoff Johns magic over the last 2 years, I think. So pick of the week, Junkyard Joe. Then we got Kroma, issue number 1. This is a new one from Lorenzo De Felici. I think he was the artist on Oblivion Song. Someone would let me know if I was wrong on that one, but I really loved this book. It was kind of on my radar, but it was on the outskirts. I thought this book was phenomenal. It's about this world that these people have been hunted and attacked by these giant lizard creatures, but they have found out that if they remove color from their lives, they can get away from the lizard people. The lizard people won't be attracted to them, right? So they live this boring black and white existence. And the artwork does amazing things with the black and white and with the pops of color. So this kid has to go and fight a monster. And this is what I was talking about, where they use color in a world where color is banned. This was really cool. It was very poignant. I thought it was well told. The artwork was amazing. The composition was striking. The use of the color. This was an amazing work from Lorenzo. I thought Kroma was absolutely fantastic. Then we've got I Hate Fairyland, issue number 1. This is actually volume 2 of I Hate Fairyland, which is actually a continuation of a Scotty Young series from a few years ago. Now, I only ever read like the first 8 to 10 issues of that, so I never finished it, but it didn't dissuade me from checking this one out. There is a different artist. It's not Scotty Young doing the artwork. It's Brett Bean, but the artwork is absolutely fantastic. It captures the spirit of the original, at least what I remember of it, and basically, I Hate Fairyland was about this little girl who wound up going to Fairyland, like a Wonderland, Magic Land type place, right? But she hated it, and she wound up going through all these crazy misadventures there. It was gory, it was trying to be irreverent and silly and crude and rude at times. But now she's all grown up in the real world, and life stinks and life sucks. And something happens that draws her back to Fairyland. Now, like I said, I never completed the original I Hate Fairyland. Did not stop my enjoyment of this. Even if you didn't read that last one, you might want to check this one out if it sounds like it's something for you. This one is Voyages. This one really wasn't for me. I didn't really like it. I did love the artwork. The artwork is amazing, but it's kind of your typical, I don't know, like rebellion, space opera type thing. The artwork was amazing, but none of the characters, none of the situations compelled me. None of it felt charming to me. It didn't really grab my attention, but the artwork was solid, but the book just wasn't quite for me. Then we've got The Bone Orchard Mythos, 10,000 Black Feathers, issue number 3. Well, when you got Andrea Sorrentino on the artwork with Dave Stewart colors, you know you're going to get something exceptional there. So this is part of the Boneyard or the Bone Orchard Mythos, and they are all connected, but that doesn't mean that they don't each tell their own story, because they do. This one is about 2 childhood friends. As they get older, they grow apart. One of them goes missing, and now the other one is trying to find out what's happened. It takes her down dark places, into her own past, into their own relationship, and into her own mind. I really like this book. Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, Dave Stewart, no matter what they do, you know it's going to be fantastic in my book. Then we got Above Snakes, issue number 5. This is the final issue of Above Snakes. This has been a magnificent Western revenge tale with a lot of nuance to it, right? This book gets absurd. This book goes into silly territory at times, but it still has this core of the realness and the weight and gravity of a life seeking vengeance, right? And how that affects one person, how that affects the people around them, and even goes outward into the community. I thought this was an incredibly powerful ending. I loved this ending. It's been great to see Hayden Sherman just do amazing things with the artwork. Freaking fantastic book. Hassan Otsman El Hal's lettering. This has been some of the best lettering of his exceptional career. And Sean Lewis being able to pack a punch and tell a joke at the same time. I love it. It's one of the best books of the year, guaranteed. Then we got Gunslinger Spawn, issue number 14. Speaking of Image Comics, about Western revenge. That's what's going on here. Javi is finding and tracking down the people responsible for the death of his sister. We get a little bit more information about how he became a Spawn. I love this book. It's just so much fun. It's got big bombastic moments. It's got gnarly, gory moments where, dude, Gunslinger Spawn is not playing around when he's tells these people he's going to F them up. Like, he is not playing around, and an ending that had me go, yes, this is like good, cheesy horror in a Spawn comic with a Western vibe. Over at DC, we got Stargirl, The Lost Children, issue number 1. If you are a fan of Jeff Johns and his work on Stargirl, Stars and Stripes, or JSA, you definitely need to check this one out. A fantastic book. Basically, this was set up in the Spring Break special for Stargirl earlier in the year, and in that Golden Age book that came out last week. There is like a missing generation of Golden Age heroes. Some of them sidekicks, some of them created. Some of them are recently created, some are just forgotten about, right? But that's what this is. Stargirl and Red Arrow now have to go and solve the mystery. I really, really like this book. Todd Knock on the artwork, so it gives you that classic old school Young Justice type flavor and vibe, and mining and picking the Golden Age with precision, right? That's what Jeff Johns does. I love Stargirl. I was into Stargirl when that book Stars and Stripes first came out, and now I got them in trade now. I don't have my original issues anymore. I don't even know if they do these anymore, but these books are freaking fantastic if you've never read them. Has a nice kind of like monster, Case of the Week, Buffy the Vampire type feel. Anyway, really like that. Batman, One Bad Day, Mr. Freeze. So another one of these one-shots, but I really, really like this one. I thought this has been the best of all of them so far because it's just giving us a really great, powerfully tragic Mr. Freeze story. And it's set during Christmas, so it's kind of got this heartwarming thing, but it's revealing things about Mr. Freeze. It's revealing things about his relationship with Nora. It's revealing things about Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne, because this is set in the Batman and Robin days when Dick Grayson was Robin. I love this. Just a great, I don't want to say nuanced again, but a really great, like in-depth look at a thing. It's a tragic tale. It's great. It's great. It's just awesome. And Matteo Scalera's artwork, absolutely fantastic. It has the tone and the vibe of the animated series type stuff. It is incredibly sad in moments, and in other moments, very surprising and shocking. I loved it. I thought this has been the best of them, and it's not trying too hard. Like some of these, I think the Riddler and the Two-Face, maybe they try too hard to be a little too relevant in the modern day or to really game change things. This one just takes the best of what makes a Mr. Freeze story work and does something else with like Bruce and Dick and Alfred actually tells the story with them and just wraps it around a Christmas theme. And wow, what a great book. Then we got Batman, Superman, World's Finest, issue number 9. So we're introduced to this Boy Thunder character recently, Soul Survivor. Clark and Bruce and the Teen Titans are trying to train him, basically. And it's interesting because he's being trained by Batman, he's being trained by Superman, he's being trained by the Teen Titans. So he's being told so many different things about how to stop crime, how to deal with the situation, and it's kind of getting to him, right? And he's going back and forth, and it's really messing him up. And we are presented with some shocking revelations. I think Mark Waid has really ironed out his stride here on World's Finest. This is just a great, solid, fun superhero comic, and with amazing artwork, great dynamic perspective, which really helps elevate these heroes by Dan Mora, and that poppy feel that we get from the coloring of Tamara Bonvillain. This is absolutely one of the best comics out there as far as superheroes go, and when the Joker gets involved, you know it ain't going to be nice. Then we got Nightwing here with issue number 98. This is the first appearance, I guess, of Might. So we know who Batmite is. It's like Mr. Mixius Pitalik. It's an imp from the fifth dimension. Maybe Nightwing needs his own. So you get a character, Nightmite, being introduced. This book is a love letter to the fans of Nightwing. Tom Taylor has just been knocking it out of the park here. We got Danielle Di Niculo on the artwork, who I'm familiar with from their Power Rangers work, and I really liked it there. A lot of energy here. A charming book that was a lot of fun. I had so much fun with this book. Tom Taylor understands the book that he's making here, and he's really hitting his stride. He started strong, he's continuing strong, and even in the midst of doing some big, heavy type things, he can do an issue like this that's just kind of playful and fun and top-notch. Nightwing has been amazing. Dark Crisis, Worlds Without a Justice League, Batman. All right, so Pariah didn't kill the Justice League. He created new worlds for them out there in the multiverse. He's trying to recreate the multiverse. He created worlds based on their deepest desires or something like that. Well, now in the pages of Dark Crisis, they've already escaped these worlds, so all of these have lost impact, not just now, but pretty much from the beginning, right? But they do kind of present themselves as interesting Elseworlds. So if you like good Batman Elseworlds tales, this is something for you, because out of all of these worlds without a Justice League, this is probably the most imaginative and really interesting take on Gotham that's different than something else. It's not just a slight tweak on an idea. It's like a whole new concept wrap around it, and I thought that was cool. The Zatanna backup story, though, not so much. Then we got Flash here with issue 788. Jeremy Adams has been not just consistent on Flash, he has been consistently getting stronger on Flash, and it is now pretty much a spiritual successor to Jeff Johns' Wally West Flash run, which I'm a big fan of. It has all of the best elements of that, but something distinctly that Jeremy Adams is bringing to it. In this one, the former warden of Iron Heights has been elected mayor, and he has deputized the rogues, so they are after Wally. I love this. Just great fun. Classic Flash action, very neat, cool stuff. Then we got Black Adam, issue number 6. This is the most structurally, singularly focused issue of Black Adam so much. With Christopher Priest books, he likes to play with structure. Sometimes that can be challenging, but it is rewarding when you stick with it, right? Like his Black Panther run. The same has been the case for me in Black Adam. At first, I felt it a bit disconnected, but now it's really connected, and this one is a very focused one that's just pretty much Batman versus Black Adam. Now, they do kind of add something in there that kind of lessens the impact at the end. However, it's still a big, bombastic issue. Black Adam versus Batman. Y'all, that's worth it, 100%. Deceased War of the Undead Gods, issue number 4. We're halfway through the final big book, I guess, of Deceased. Tom Taylor knows what he's doing with these Elseworlds-type tales. He's able to take familiar characters, put them in a slightly unfamiliar setting that is familiar, whether it be like, you know, a medieval fantasy or a zombie apocalypse, basically what's happened here. So the anti-life equations turn everybody into zombies. They save the day over the course of all these series that we've got, but now it's gotten deeper because now Darkseid is infected. Darkseid and the New Gods are going across the universe, turning planet by planet by planet. So things are getting really dour. Things are getting very tragic and desperate. However, there's still an optimism and a hope that's there. And this book, this series, has been filled with some of the greatest character progressions on people like Damian Wayne, Cassie Sandmark, and it is Sandmark, right? And Jonathan Kent. So I'm really loving what Tom Taylor and Trevor Hairsine are doing on that book. GCPD, The Blue Wall, issue number 2. I'm not going to say that this is as good as Gotham Central because we're only 2 issues in of a short miniseries, but it does kind of pick up that vibe. It is very connected to Gotham. It's not superhero whatsoever, no Batman, none of that kind of stuff, but it's about 3 police officers fresh out of the academy dealing with being a cop in Gotham. And then you got some interesting stuff going on with Montoya, who is now the commissioner of police. She has her own struggles, and it's tied into some stuff that was set up back in Gotham Central by Greg Rucka and Ed Brubaker, especially Greg Rucka. But I actually really like this book. I think it's incredibly well written. The way it sets up expectations, subverts those expectations, and delivers on certain things in an unexpected way. It is incredibly well written structurally and very solid, and I think it's got some... What's another word for nuance? It's got some nuance to it. Over at Marvel, we've got Gold Goblin issue number 1. Do we know who the Gold Goblin is? I mean, I know because I read last week's Amazing Spider-Man. Maybe some people didn't. Maybe they don't want to know. But if you look at the cover, I think you can piece it together. So I won't blatantly say who it is, so I'll try to skirt around that. I liked this book. This is a character, a familiar face, in an unfamiliar brand new costume, right? And trying to do a different route this time, trying to maybe make up for some guilt, some terrible regrets, some horrible things that this, say, maybe a character did in his past or their past. It's a he. Come on. Anyway, I like the approach. It is a book about a haunted man. It is a book about a guilt-ridden man trying to make amends, but maybe something inside of him won't allow him to. And this is a chance to do something different. It's interesting. The artwork is probably a bit too stiff for this because there's a lot of darkness and interesting concepts being taken with this character, like psychologically by Christopher Cantwell, the writer. And the artwork handles that, but it doesn't handle like the gold glidey things. You know, it just doesn't have that energy. So it's okay. Some interesting stuff being done there, but just okay. Then we got Murderworld Avengers. Murderworld is a start of a series of one-shots that's going to be telling this one Murderworld story. Murderworld is this creation of Arcade. Now, Arcade was always, to me, one of the lamest villains out there. Whenever I was watching the X-Men cartoon or reading an X-Men comic and it was an Arcade story, I would roll my eyes and be like, oh, not an arcade story. I used to do the same thing with Mojo, right? When I was younger, for sure. You know what? I'll tell you what, Arcade's Revenge, though, on the Super Nintendo, that game is so awesome. In fact, I've never beaten that game. I love it, but I've never beaten it. Maybe the reason why I hate Arcade so much is because I cannot beat that game or haven't beaten that game. Wow. Y'all, I think I just had a rather profound realization about my own life. Anyway, that being said, Murderworld Avengers, this is not an Avengers comic. Do not be fooled. It is a Murderworld comic. The Avengers have nothing to do with it. The Avengers aren't even in here. I mean, they kind of are, but they're not really, okay? I will say this, though. I loved this book. I thought it was great. It's about this social media influencer. He's reporting on Murderworld. It shows up once a year somewhere random. 200 people go in, only one person comes out, and they get $100 million. So it's like Battle Royale. It's like Hunger Games. It's that kind of a vibe, right? But with Murderworld, with Arcade. So this social media influencer gets invited to film in there, right? To report on it. But in actuality, he's a contestant. And it takes unexpected turns and twists. And then it has an ending where I'm like, what? I really liked this book. I thought it was good. It's going to continue in, I don't know, there's a Murderworld like Spider-Man, a Murderworld Wolverine. I think there may be 3, maybe 4 of these. I'm on board. I really thought this was great. And it's written by Jim Zub and Ray Fox with artwork by Morales. I was really surprised Because not only did I like this book, which is, and I hate usually these one-shot events that they do, right? These events that are just series of one-shots. But I actually loved an arcade story. That being said, Avengers Arena is okay. It's kind of got that vibe, right? But it's different. All right, then we got Blade Vampire Nation. This is a one-shot spinning out of the pages of Avengers. What that means is this. In the pages of Avengers, vampires got their own nation, their own country. Dracula is their leader. Blade is the sheriff. He's like the lead dude. He's like the Odo to Deep Space Nine. You get what I'm saying? That's what he's doing. There's an assassination attempt on Dracula, so it's failed, but Blade is sent to find out who tried to assassinate the leader of this vampire country, Dracula. And as he's finding this stuff out, you're being shown some of the underbelly of this nation. And Mark Russell, the writer, is doing some really interesting stuff, and the art's pretty solid too. I do really rather like the artwork in here, and I think it's really appropriate for a Blade book. The only problem with this book for me is that there's just not enough space. To be honest with you, there's a lot of interesting ideas to explore here, and sometimes things happen too quickly, too conveniently, just because this is a one-shot. They're fitting everything into this one thing. That being said, I would love to see this get kind of explored on. It was really cool, and it took the character of Blade rather seriously, which I like, because a lot of modern writers write him a little too jokey. Yeah, Wesley Snipes made some jokes back in those movies, but he kicked a lot more ass than he told jokes. Then we got Namor the Submariner. My bad. Namor the Submariner. Issue number 2. Y'all, I loved this book. Christopher Cantwell has been a writer that I really like his work outside of Marvel. And his Marvel work I haven't really liked that much. But I thought Gold Goblin was pretty interesting, and I'm really liking this Namor book right now. Now, the Pascal Ferry artwork does not hurt, but this is a really cool kind of exploration of the character of Namor. This is set several years, but maybe a couple decades in the future. Most of humanity is wiped out. Some really great focus in on the relationship with Sue Storm in this issue. But Namor's older. Most of humanity's been wiped out. The last few survivors, Namor's trying to help, but some of them don't want to be helped. Meanwhile, there's another threat out there that's looming. So you still got some people still there, like Luke Cage, Captain America. They're all older, so is Namor, but he's more introspective. He's more wise. He's kind of focused in on his past. Man, actually, between Gold Goblin and Namor, Christopher Cantwell is writing 2 characters that are trying to make amends for their past and being conflicted about it. Wow. This is actually a really great characterization on the character of Namor the Submariner. I like that book. Then we got Thunderbolts, issue number 4. It's all right. I've been really liking this book. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it takes itself seriously enough. But this is one of those issues where you're reading it and you're like, this is a dream sequence, isn't it? And like most of the issues, a dream sequence and stuff like that is just like, I don't know, it just personally kind of annoys me a little bit, but it didn't really affect how I feel about the series overall, because there's some nice fun moments in the beginning, and even the sequence that I'm like, it does kind of get into what's going on with a certain character whose name rhymes with Blint Martin. Right? Anyway, over at Dark Horse, we got the Shaolin Cowboy, Cruel to Be Kin, issue number 7. This is the final issue of one of the most absurd, ridiculous, and awesome comics you've ever read. You need to read this comic book if you just like weird, wild, ridiculous stuff done in a very technically sound, intricate, hyper-detailed type way. You're talking about giant dudes with crab claws fighting the Shaolin Cowboy, as well as fighting a giant pig, and all kinds of nutsy things going on. Intestines being ripped out, strung across the city. Shaolin Cowboy flying around on intestines. Just beautiful artwork. Absolutely amazing detail in every bit of it. So much. You could just spend hours looking at this. This is the final issue. A very satisfying conclusion. I cannot wait for more. It might be a wait, but I hope we get more Shaolin Cowboy. 3 books before this one. If you have never read it, highly encourage you to check it out. 5 you digs. Robbie says check it out. Then we got Something is Killing the Children, issue number 26, a book that is suffering from a slowdown in momentum. Now, in those first, 20 issues, they told one kind of like big, giant story. And ever since then, we've been building into something new. And now we're at the next arc, the start of the next arc within the second phase, I guess you could say. And this issue doesn't really do much to push things forward. By the end of this issue, I know a little bit more about some of the newer characters, but the progression of the plot, and like one person got from A to B. That was it. But we already knew that was going to happen, so I feel like the book is stretched out a little bit too much. Now, it's always been accused of being a slow burn, but this is just, to me, losing some momentum. And I think that that's something that happens. I do have faith, though, in Tynan and Deladera and Muerto that they can pull it together. They just got to find a way to kind of reignite some excitement, and maybe it will happen because the way that this issue ends does promise some fireworks possibly in the next issue. I hope so, but I wonder, let me know out there, are you feeling some slow up of momentum on Something is Killing just in general? Like reading it or just the buzz? From Vault Comics, we have Door to Door, Night by Night. This was a fantastic comic. I really liked it. Written by Cullen Bunn with artwork by Sally Cantorino. I thought it was good. So it's about this woman. She's wandering around. She meets this group of people who their job is to go door to door. This is set in 1987. Their job is to go door to door and sell $10 portrait coupons so they can take it, get a picture taken for $10, get a portrait, right? This is something they used to do back in the day. And allegedly this goes to the fire department. But this is what they do for their gig. And everybody in this group that does this job, they're just kind of like outcasts, kind of maybe misfits, just on the outskirts of society, if you will. They put in their work, they get their money, and then they drink it away. They start again the next day. So this woman shows up and joins their group, and she's noticing a lot of missing kids posters around. And there's this really creepy house that nobody wants to approach. She winds up approaching it, and then this goes and turns into a bona fide monster book, and it is awesome. I loved it. Cullen Bunn, great artwork, a really solid book, and I have been critical of Vault and other smaller publishers at times for not giving their issue number ones enough room to provide us with a setup and a good hook. This one does. Great setup. There could have been a moment where they ended it, maybe felt a bit short, but it extended further than I thought it was going to, and had a very solid hook at the end. I thought that was amazing. Then we got By the Horns, Dark Earth, issue number 6. By the Horns was one of my favorite books last year. It continues to be one of my favorite books this year. What started as a simple revenge against unicorn story became this whole quest of the main character to find themselves and save the day. But because she saved the day, now there's a new threat looming, and through her and her compadres trying to combat this threat, we are now developing more and more of this world. And there's so much to it. It's so rich. The world building that's done in the pages of Dark Earth in particular is astounding. It's got crisp, clean artwork, really dynamic and just super vibrant coloring, great character designs, really solid structure in the script. A fantastic book. By the Horns continues to be one of the best books on shelves. Then we got Bill and Ted's Day of the Dead special. I really love these Opus Bill and Ted comics. They had the Bill and Ted Rolled the Dice one played up as a really great follow-up to Bogus Journey. We had the Death Halloween special basically a few weeks ago. Now we got the Day of the Dead special where Ted takes Bill along and they learn how to celebrate the Day of the Dead and what it's all about. And they go back in the past and they find some Mexican heroes, right? They take Montezuma, Frida, a few others, right? And they bring them to the modern day and just have a big party. That's all it is. But it was really, really freaking fun. Clean artwork and a great solid backup story with Denomalos that I really, really liked. And there is an incentive cover with a nice tribute to Rufus, and I got that in the other room. I should have grabbed that. But I'm really loving this. Very pumped for the Christmas special coming next month. All right, from IDW, we got True Cult, issue number 4. I'm loving this book. It's about this dude who works at a burger joint that's got this weird, odd, like, God church theme going on. And he winds up saying, I've had enough of it, goes to the strip mall next to his burger joint, tries to rob it, doesn't quite work out, winds up getting kidnapped by this satanic cult and put in the middle of this giant conspiracy for Satan's power and all that kind of stuff. Really fun book, and it does capture that vibe of having a shitty job, right? And wanting something more, but it plays with that, and it's really fun. And it's got all these characters. I mean, I'm talking about these characters that are like, they work at this burger joint, and that's what they live for. You know, those people, you ever had like one of those shitty jobs that you know is just a temporary job to you, but for somebody else, it's life? and it's obnoxious. You get a lot of that in here, so that's pretty cool. Then we got Crashing issue number 3. I'm really liking this book. It's a book about like a doctor. She's a surgeon or something. She has had a former addiction to pills. Her husband has written a law to like ban superheroes or something. She works on superheroes even though she's not supposed to. All kinds of stuff's going on there. And this was a rather heavy and intense issue. And it kind of came out of nowhere and took me by surprise. I am really liking this book, but I don't know. This one just felt maybe a bit more uneven because all of a sudden it just got incredibly intense. But I'm still liking it. Crashing's been cool. All these IDW original books have been solid. Then we've got The Legacy, or A Legacy of Violence, issue number 2. This is from Mad Cave, written by Cullen Bunn with artwork by Andrea Muti. And if you like his work on Maniac of New York, you're really going to like this. I love the artwork. But when I picked this up, I was like, what happened in the first one? I couldn't really remember. I was like, oh, there's the dude in a mask and he's like murdering people. But I didn't understand the story outside of that. Reading issue number 2, never a boring moment, never a dull moment, but I still don't know what the hell's going on. But I'm thinking, there's got some gnarly, gory bits, and if you're a fan of slasher films, this probably is for you. And if you look at it as a slasher film, let's say this is what, 4 or 5, let's say it's 5 issues long. We're like, what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes into the slasher film, so we're not going to know a lot yet. But it's gnarly, it's cool, but I think I'm going to stick with that one. I think I will. And then I want to point this one out. We got Zorro Masters Volume 2, The Art of Alex Toth. So this is reprinting a couple of Alex Toth Zorro comics from back in 59 and 60. Now, Zorro Masters Volume 1, I never grabbed. I don't know if that's Toth or if it's someone else. But as soon as I saw this in previews a couple months ago, a few months ago actually, it's way late, I had to check it out. Alex Toth is absolutely one of the best artists that's ever been, and I've been getting into his work like crazy lately. So to recap, Zorro Masters Alex Toth, that's one of the best comic book artists out there. Legacy of Violence, gnarly, but still not quite connected. Crashing, a very intense out of nowhere issue, but wow, really interesting. True Cult, having a lot of fun with that one. Of course, artwork by Liana Kangas on that, friend of the show. Bill and Ted's Day of the Dead is just excellent, most triumphant. By the Horns, Dark Earth, excellent world building, solidified by great artwork, Door to Door, Night by Night, a fantastic issue number 1 from Cullen Bunn and Vault Comics. Something is Killing the Children for me, just losing a little bit of steam, a little bit of momentum. Shaolin Cowboy, absurd, ridiculous, wild, awesome. That's what that is. That's a master work in there. Thunderbolts number 4 was a little bit of a dip for me this time. Namor the Submariner, very surprising that I'm into that, man. Then we got Blade Vampire Nation, a pretty solid enough one-shot story. Could just been a bit more expanded on. Murderworld Avengers. That's a shocker. I loved that book. Thought it was awesome. Then we got Gold Goblin. It's decent. Doesn't quite reach the level I think it's trying to, but it's decent. GCPD, The Blue Wall. I like that book. Very solidly written. DC's War of the Undead Gods. Big, bombastic, tragic, all that jazz. Black Adam number 6. Batman versus Black Adam, enough said. The Flash. A great spiritual successor to Jeff Johns' Wally West run right there. Dark Crisis, Batman, a great imaginative Elseworld story, but doesn't work as an event tie-in, really. Nightwing, very charming, fantastic book, one of the best. Then we got World's Finest, is one of the finest superhero comics out there. Just superhero comics done right and done for fun. Then we got Batman, One Bad Day, Mr. Freeze, a great solid Christmas tale and a Mr. Freeze comic that is to die for. Then we got Stargirl, Lost Children. Fans of Jeff Johns and the JSA stuff by him in particular will really want to check that out. Gunslinger, Spawn, Vengeance. What's better than Vengeance and Spawn? How about Vengeance and Above Snakes? A very awesome conclusion to that series. Wish it could go on for 70 issues. 10,000 Black Feathers, Lemire, Sorrentino, enough said. Voyages just didn't do it for me. Great artwork, though. I Hate Fairyland, a really solid return to the world of I Hate Fairyland, even if you didn't read the previous volume. And Kroma, really solid book. Great theme, great story, great characters, great way to tell the story. Amazing panel composition, and a very strong, hooky ending. And this is a monster comic. It is $7.99, but it is square bound and very, very thick. And the pick of the week, Junkyard Joe. from every element of this, absolutely amazing. Jeff Johns at the top of his game yet again. So that's what I read. That's what I thought. What are you reading? What are you thinking? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you all who joined us here for the live show. Sorry we had to do it live, but till I get the mic issue fixed for the other camera, maybe we'll just have to do this for a couple weeks. But I'm cool with it if you are. Anyway, that's what I thought about the books. I appreciate y'all being here. Let us know in the comments down below. What are you reading? What are you digging? Join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcast blogs and a whole lot more. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And once again, if you do want to check out Whatnot, if you've never tried it, you can try it with the link in the description below, and it will give you $15 off your first purchase when you sign up for a new account. So thank you, Whatnot, for setting that up for our PCP Army and our fans. Anyway, I've been rocking Robbie Billups. Station. Thanks for rocking with us. Thanks for reading. No. Keep on reading. Ha. Pop, pop, boom!